Chosen one, your name is now the proof they never expected. In rooms where lies collapse, people are invoking you to show who's false, flipping the tables so hard the deceivers can't recover. Your credibility became the benchmark, and that terrifies them. Right now, someone from that old circle is being exposed with the same tactics once used on you. The difference is this time, your story is the reference point. You don't need to defend yourself. Your absence speaks. Your record speaks. Your name seals the verdict. That is power now. You had discernment nobody could control. The ability to see through performance when everyone else saw authenticity. You knew when someone was lying before their sentence is finished. You felt manipulation entering a room like a shift in air pressure. That made you the most dangerous person in the operation. Not to genuine people, to predators building kingdoms on lies. So they coordinated against you. And you need to understand this wasn't some spontaneous group decision. This was calculated warfare. Different people started having issues with you around the same time. One pulled someone aside with concerns about your energy. Another mentioned to a friend that you seemed unstable. A third expressed worry about your judgment. Different conversations, different messengers, same mission. Some kill your credibility before you could expose what you were seeing. The execution was surgical. No simultaneous attacks because that would look coordinated. No identical stories because that would sound rehearsed. Just systematic contamination of every relationship you valued. They poisoned wells before you even knew you'd be thirsty. They set traps before you knew you were being hunted. The goal was simple. When you finally spoke truth, nobody would believe you. There was a pathological liar at the center of everything. Someone so skilled at deception, everyone got fooled. This person told different stories to different people. This person created contradictions, so complex nobody could track them all. You were the only one mapping the lies, seeing the patterns, connecting dots others couldn't see. And that's why they had to destroy you first. You were the threat to the entire operation. The one person who could bring it all down just by speaking what you observed. Now that liar is being exposed, slowly, carefully, person by person is discovering the manipulation, and every single person who uncovers a lie remembers you tried to tell them. The chosen one warned me about this exact thing. That's the phrase haunting everyone, because acknowledging you were right means acknowledging they chose deception over you. That's a cost they're paying in real time. They expected you to fight, to defend, to create drama proving your innocence. Their entire strategy was built around you being predictable, around you needing approval, around you breaking under pressure. They wanted desperation. They needed frantic energy. They anticipated defensive behavior. That would have confirmed everything they said about you. It would have made their lies look true. You did something better. You walked away, not in defeat, in dominance. You chose silence over spectacle, peace over performance. You refused to play a rigged game, and that move shattered their entire operation because they had no script for someone who didn't need to be right, who didn't need to be believed, who was complete without validation. Here's what they didn't understand about your silence. It wasn't passive, it was strategic. Every day you stayed quiet. Their lies had to work harder to maintain momentum. Every week you remained absent. Their stories needed new fuel. Every month you refused to engage. Their narratives lost credibility because no opposition existed to fight against. They were shadowboxing, attacking an enemy who refused to show up to the battle, and people watching started asking questions. Why is the chosen one so calm if guilt exists? Why isn't defense happening if accusations are false? Why did the chosen one leave if being right mattered so much? Your silence created more doubt about their story than any defense could have. Your name gets used now because your silence created mystery. People don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you know. They don't know what you saw that made you walk away so completely. That unknown creates power. That mystery creates authority, because now when someone needs to reference truth, they reference you, the person who saw something so clearly that arguing about it wasn't even necessary. Your silence created a vacuum. Without you there to blame, they had to face each other, and what they found was ugly. Their lies started contradicting each other. The manipulation became obvious without you there to absorb it. The chaos they created to destroy you turned inward. Self-destruction became the pattern. Your absence was louder than any defense you could have made. The whisper campaign against you had infrastructure, specific people with specific assignments. One person handled your close friends, another worked on family, a third focused on professional contacts, a fourth managed social circles. Each operative was planting identical seeds in different soil, making sure doubt about you spread everywhere you had influence. They crafted conversations with precision, never outright lies you could disprove, just concerned questions, innocent observations. Have you noticed the chosen one seems different, so negative lately, so angry, so unstable, concern masking criticism, care disguising condemnation? They called your healthy boundaries walls. They labeled your discernment as judgment. They twisted your truth into jealousy. But underneath the surface drama, something else was operating. Secret relationships you suspected but couldn't prove. Hidden alliances you sensed but got called paranoid for mentioning. Coordination was happening. Information was getting shared. Decisions were being made together about who to target and how. People were getting played against each other while innocence was being performed. You mentioned the alignment seemed suspicious, how certain people always had the same opinions, how information spread too fast, how private conversations became public knowledge. They called you paranoid. They told you conspiracies were being imagined. They made you feel crazy for seeing patterns that were absolutely real. But you weren't imagining anything. The network existed. The coordination was real, and it was all designed to isolate you before you could expose what you were seeing. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can see it. Now the exposure is happening. People are discovering secret relationships, strategic alliances, coordinated manipulation, and they feel like fools because they defended these people to you. They made excuses for behavior you correctly identified. They chose against you. Now they're sitting with the humiliating truth that you were right about everything. But there's more coming, something bigger, a financial deception that's about to detonate. People are going back through everything now, every conversation, every interaction, every moment they dismissed you, and they're using your observations as a decoder ring. The chosen one said this person couldn't be trusted with money. Let me look at the financial records. The chosen one said these two were working together. Let me check the timeline of their coordination. Your name has become the key that unlocks every door they were told to keep closed. Every warning you gave is now a breadcrumb, leading them to truth they were manipulated into ignoring. Every observation you made is now evidence of deception they were conditioned to excuse. You're not just being proven right, you're being established as the only reliable narrator in a story everyone else lied about. You said someone was lying about their identity. People are discovering now that the credentials don't exist. The experiences never happened. The connections are fictional. The entire persona was constructed. Everything you said about fraud is being confirmed in real time, not eventually. Right now, person after person is uncovering lies you tried to show them before. The degree they claimed doesn't appear in any records. The company they said employed them has no documentation of their existence. The mentor they constantly referenced never heard of them. The achievements their reputation was built on were borrowed from someone else's life, fabricated, stolen, repackaged as their personal story. You saw through it immediately. You questioned the inconsistencies. You noticed the details didn't align, and they called you jealous for it, insecure, unable to celebrate someone else's success. You said someone was playing both sides. People are finding out now that different groups were told different stories. Contradictions, so obvious they can't be ignored anymore. Information was collected from everyone and used strategically against people. Conflict was created while peace was being pretended. Every observation you made about duplicity is proving accurate. This person was mirroring everyone, becoming whatever each person needed to see. You called it shape-shifting. You said this person has no core, no real beliefs, no authentic self, just performance tailored to extract maximum benefit from each relationship. They dismissed you, but now understanding is happening. You said someone was financially manipulative. This is where it gets explosive. People are realizing now that relationships were weaponized for material gain. Money was borrowed with zero intention of return. Resources were extracted under false pretenses. Generosity was exploited systematically. And there's more. Something bigger is brewing underneath. Someone ran a fundraiser, maybe for medical expenses, maybe for a crisis, maybe for a business opportunity, except the need wasn't real. The story was fabricated. The money went somewhere else entirely, and other people knew about it. They helped set it up. They coached on what to say to make it believable. They vouched to make trust and donations happen. When this comes out, multiple people will go down. That's why everyone is in a standoff right now. Everyone has leverage on everyone else. Everyone is threatening exposure. Nobody can make a move without triggering an avalanche. And somehow your name is still the standard they measure. Honesty against. The Chosen One would never do something like this. The Chosen One always told the truth about money. The Chosen One tried to warn us about parasitic behavior. You said someone was emotionally unstable and would explode. People are witnessing now that the mask can't stay on under pressure. Public meltdowns are occurring. Lashing out at everyone is happening. Spiraling visibly is manifesting. Blame is getting thrown everywhere. The volatility you predicted is on full display. And you're not there to absorb it anymore, so it's destroying everything it touches. This person is sending unhinged messages, making wild accusations, threatening people who used to be allies, burning bridges with the same people who provided protection. Every prediction you made about what happens when this person faces consequences is manifesting. The mask is cracking. The performance is failing. The real person underneath is showing. And it's exactly what you said it would be. They said you were jealous. That lie is burning to the ground. People are seeing now that you walked away from everything they're fighting over. You chose peace while they chose chaos. You prioritized truth while they played politics. That's not jealousy. That's wisdom they couldn't recognize because they'd never experienced it. People are realizing now what jealousy actually looks like. It's the person who copied your style after calling you try-hard. The person who adopted your ideas after calling you delusional. The person who pursued your vision after calling you unrealistic. Jealousy was never your energy. It was theirs. They projected it onto you to hide what they were doing. They said you were negative. That lie is crumbling. What they called negativity was accuracy. What they labeled pessimism was pattern recognition. What they dismissed as criticism was warning. You weren't negative. You were seeing clearly in a room full of people choosing delusion. Truth sounds harsh only when lies feel comfortable. People are understanding now what negativity actually means. Negative people complain without solutions. You provided both warning and wisdom. Negative people tear down without building up. You identified problems while modeling integrity. Negative people drain energy. You protected yours by removing yourself from their chaos. That's not negativity. That's discernment. They mistook for judgment because they were invested in not seeing. They said you were dramatic. That lie is hilarious now because the real drama is consuming them and you're nowhere near it. The chaos you predicted is unfolding exactly as you mapped it. The betrayals you outlined are happening in order. The consequences you described are manifesting precisely. You weren't dramatic. You were prophetic. You saw the end from the beginning. Think about what drama actually is. Drama is creating crisis for attention. You walked away from attention. Drama is manufacturing conflict for relevance. You chose peace over participation. Drama is performing emotion for an audience. You processed privately and moved forward quietly. Every accusation of drama was projection from people whose entire existence was performance. They said you couldn't be trusted. This lie is dying the most spectacular death, because your name is now the only standard of trustworthiness left. They measure everyone else's honesty against yours. Your words became the baseline for truth. Your character became the example of integrity. The person who called you untrustworthy is being exposed as the actual fraud. Watch what happens when someone questions another person's honesty now. The immediate response is comparison to you. Well, the chosen one would never lie about something like that. The chosen one was always straight about their intentions. The chosen one said what they meant and meant what they said. Your name has become the measurement tool, the litmus test, the standard that exposes everyone else's deception. When they invoke your name now, something happens that was never wanted. They have to admit you were right, and that admission costs them everything. It costs pride, because acknowledging you were right means confessing they were catastrophically wrong. It means admitting they dismissed valid warnings. They chose liars over truth-tellers. They attacked the one person trying to protect them. Think about what that does to their self-image. These are people who pride themselves on being intelligent, discerning, good judges of character. People who built identities around being wise, being careful, being able to see through deception. And they got completely manipulated by someone you identified immediately. That's not just embarrassing, that's identity shattering. It costs credibility, because if you were right about this, what else were you right about? Suddenly every warning you gave gets reconsidered. Every person you called out gets investigated. Every observation you made gets validated. Retroactively, your entire track record stands verified while theirs collapses into rubble. People are going back through old conversations now, remembering things you said that got dismissed, warnings you gave that got laughed off, observations you made that got called paranoid, and every single one is proving accurate. Every prediction is coming true. Every pattern you identified is manifesting exactly as you described. That's not just vindication, that's the establishment of prophetic authority. It costs alliances because using your name means breaking rank with the people who made you the villain. It means stepping away from the group, choosing truth over tribe. And for people who value belonging above everything, that's devastating. But it's happening anyway, because the lie became too expensive to maintain. Your name is being weaponized in ways you never intended. Your authority is getting invoked to strengthen their cases against people you don't even know about. Your credibility is getting borrowed to repair reputations that don't deserve repair. Your truth is getting used strategically by people who still don't fully respect it. But it works, because you built real authority through real consistency. You earned genuine credibility through genuine integrity. While they were building social capital on lies, you were building truth capital that compounds forever. Now they're bankrupt and desperately trying to borrow from your account. The account they tried to close, the wealth they tried to destroy, the authority they tried to eliminate. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in, so let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity, and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your destiny engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. The Whisper Network is turning on itself. The person assigned to manipulate your friends is now being manipulated by someone else. The person who spread lies about you is now the subject of worse lies. The person who isolated you is now getting isolated. The system they built to destroy you is destroying its creators. They can't dismantle it without exposing themselves. If they admit the network existed, they admit their participation. If they reveal how it worked, they reveal their roles. If they tell the truth about what they did to you, they condemn themselves. So they're trapped in infrastructure they built, getting destroyed by weapons they forged, caught in machinery designed to crush you but now crushing them. Everyone is in a standoff. Everyone has dirt on everyone else. The person who helped run the financial scam knows about the secret relationships. The people in the secret relationships know about the coordinated character assassinations. The people who ran the smear campaigns know about the money laundering. Nobody can expose anyone without getting exposed themselves. It's mutually assured destruction. Except one person stands outside the blast radius. You, because you never participated in the corruption. You never joined the schemes. You never compromised your integrity for belonging. You're the only one with clean hands in a room full of accomplices. That's why your name carries weight. That's why your authority matters. You're the only reference point for truth left standing. The panic is real right now, because if one person cracks, everyone goes down. If one truth comes out, all truths follow. If one lie gets exposed, the entire web unravels, and they're all looking at each other wondering who breaks first. Who tells the truth? Who saves themselves by destroying everyone else? The alliance built on deception is fracturing under the weight of its own lies. You're not in the game anymore. You're not holding anyone's secrets. You're not protecting anyone's lies. You're not invested in any outcome. That detachment is terrifying to them, because it means you can't be leveraged. You can't be threatened. You can't be controlled. You have nothing to lose because everything that could be taken was already lost. And in that loss, you gain something they'll never have. Freedom. Freedom from their approval. Freedom from their systems. Freedom from their corruption. That freedom is what allows your name to be used as the standard now, because everyone knows you're not playing sides. You're not protecting interests. You're not managing reputation. You simply told truth and walked away. You chose truth over belonging when everyone else compromised for acceptance. You risked isolation for integrity. You valued accuracy more than popularity. That's rare in a world that rewards performance over authenticity. That's why your word matters now. That's why your name carries weight others can't manufacture. Think about what that choice cost you in the moment. Friendships ended. Invitations stopped. Group chats went silent. Social gatherings happened without you. You watched from the outside as people you cared about chose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truth. That isolation was brutal, but you stayed consistent anyway. Every time you could have compromised, you chose truth instead. Every time someone suggested playing along to get along, you refused. Every time someone advised picking your battles, you picked integrity. Every time someone warned that truth would cost you, you paid the price anyway. Those choices seemed small in the moment. They seemed like stubbornness. They seemed like making things harder than necessary. But those choices were building a foundation that can't be shaken. Every time you chose truth over comfort, you were laying another brick. Every time you chose integrity over acceptance, you were reinforcing the structure. Every time you chose yourself over approval, you were creating something permanent. You chose consistency over convenience. You didn't change your story based on your audience. You didn't adjust standards based on who was watching. You didn't compromise values for social benefit. You were the same in every room, with every person, in every situation. That consistency built trust even among people who didn't like your message. People are realizing now what that consistency means. It means you weren't playing games. You weren't testing loyalties. You weren't seeing who would choose you. You were simply being yourself and letting the chips fall where they may. That's authentic power, not manipulation disguised as vulnerability, not strategy disguised as honesty, just truth offered without attachment to outcome. People are noticing now the difference between who you were then and who you are now. You got better, stronger, clearer, more grounded, more powerful. While they're still running the same patterns, you evolved. While they're still playing the same games, you leveled up. While they're still stuck in drama, you're building something beautiful. That transformation is proof you were never the problem. You chose silence over spectacle. When attacks came, you didn't create a circus. You didn't blast anyone publicly. You didn't run a counter-campaign. You didn't try to turn people against them the way they tried to turn people against you. You quietly removed yourself and let truth work. That restraint demonstrated strength louder than any confrontation could have. You didn't need their understanding. You didn't need their apologies. You didn't need them to acknowledge their mistake. You were complete without their acknowledgement. That completeness is what's haunting them now, because they expected you to come back begging. They expected you to need their validation. They expected you to break under the pressure of isolation. Instead, you disappeared into your own evolution. You took the pain and turned it into fuel. You took the betrayal and turned it into boundaries. You took the isolation and turned it into independence. You took everything meant to destroy you and built something they can never touch. You chose growth over grudges. You didn't obsess over revenge. You didn't plot their downfalls. You didn't waste energy on hatred. You focused on healing, on building, on becoming better. While they were consumed with destroying you, you invested in elevating yourself. That elevation is why you're the authority now. And that authority isn't borrowed. It isn't performed. It isn't manufactured. It's earned through every choice you made when choosing differently was easier. Through every moment you held your standard when lowering it would have ended the pain. Through every time you walked away when staying would have been more comfortable. Some will try coming back. You already know this. Decisions need to be made about who gets access and who doesn't. Understand clearly. Just because someone finally sees what you saw doesn't mean they changed as a person. Just because someone is experiencing consequences doesn't mean they learned the lesson. Just because someone wants your support doesn't mean you're obligated to give it. You owe no one a second chance who didn't value the first one. You owe no one your energy just because they finally woke up. You owe no one access to the peace you fought to create. Your forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. Your healing doesn't need their participation. Your growth doesn't need their approval. Some are coming because they need your authority to strengthen their position against someone else. They don't respect what you went through. They're not honoring your discernment. They're weaponizing your vindication for their own battles. Watch for this. These people will use your name in arguments but won't defend your name when it gets attacked. Some are coming because they finally experienced what you tried to warn them about. They got lied to by the same liar. They got manipulated by the same manipulator. They got used by the same user. Now they understand. Now they see. Now they believe you. But understanding born from personal pain isn't the same as understanding born from trust in your discernment. These people didn't trust you enough to avoid the pain. They needed to experience it themselves to believe you. That tells you something important about how they value your voice. They'll listen now, but only because their pain taught them what your wisdom couldn't. only because experience proved what your warning couldn't, only because consequences confirmed what your observation couldn't. Ask yourself this: do you want relationships with people who only value your voice after pain proves you right? Do you want connections with people who need personal suffering to believe your discernment? Do you want to grant access to people who didn't trust you enough to avoid the very thing you warned them about? Some people will claim they weren't sure at the time, but their actions showed they chose a side. They stayed silent when you were attacked. They remained friends with your attackers. They benefited from your absence. They participated in conversations that excluded you. Their neutrality was actually passive agreement with your destruction. Don't let them rewrite history now that the truth is obvious. Real neutrality looks different. Real neutrality protects the relationship with both parties. It refuses to participate in character assassination. It maintains integrity regardless of popularity. It questions narratives that sound too coordinated. It seeks direct communication rather than accepting gossip. You'll know who was genuinely neutral by how they treated you during the attack. Watch who celebrates your vindication. Some are celebrating because they genuinely love seeing truth win. Some are celebrating because they can now openly agree with what they privately believed. Some are celebrating because your vindication validates their own discernment. And some are celebrating because they want to be associated with the winning side. The last group is dangerous. They'll claim they always knew you were right, that they always believed in you, that they always saw what you saw. But where were they when believing in you was costly? Where were they when seeing what you saw meant isolation? Where were they when agreeing with you meant losing their position? Their celebration now is performance, not loyalty, not love. Performance. You'll know who deserves access by one simple test. Did they stand with you when standing with you cost them something, or are they approaching now that standing with you benefits them? The first group protected you in the dark. The second group wants to profit from your light. Choose accordingly. Your energy is currency now. Spend it wisely. The people who get access to the elevated version of you should be people who valued the developing version of you, who honored the struggling version of you, who respected the healing version of you, not people who only want the victorious version now that your name carries weight. Remember this: the highest form of victory is indifference. You don't need to gloat. You don't need to say "I told you so." You don't need to watch their destruction happen and feel satisfied. You need to be so far removed from the chaos that you genuinely don't care what happens next. That's freedom, that's power, that's dominance. But indifference doesn't mean letting everyone back in. Indifference means you're not emotionally invested in their downfall or their redemption. You're not tracking their consequences. You're not monitoring their realization. You're not waiting for their apologies. You've moved on so completely that their entire situation is background noise to the life you're building. Some people will mistake your peace for permission. They'll interpret your silence as forgiveness. They'll assume your growth means you're over it. Don't let them confuse your healing with their absolution. You can be healed and still maintain boundaries. You can be at peace and still deny access. You can grow beyond the pain and still refuse relationship with people who caused it. Your name is being weaponized, but not against you. For you, the universe took everything they built to destroy you and turned it into the very thing establishing your authority. They created the weapon, they sharpened the blade, they aimed it at your throat, and reality redirected it straight into their own operation. They created a villain in their story, but stories have a way of revealing truth over time. The villain they created was actually the hero all along. The person they isolated was actually the protector. The voice they silenced was actually the alarm warning everyone of danger. Now the whole narrative is rewriting itself, and they can't stop it. Your name carries weight now. They invoke it when they need to prove a point. They reference it when they need credibility. They use it when they need to validate their experience. You've become the measuring stick for truth in a situation where everyone else compromised theirs. That happened because you refused to compromise yours. You didn't win by their rules. You won by refusing to play their game. You didn't defeat anyone in battle. You walked away and they defeated themselves. You didn't prove they were wrong. You built a life so aligned with truth that their lies became obviously false by comparison. Nothing about you changed. Your discernment didn't improve. Your integrity didn't develop. Your consistency didn't strengthen. All of that was already there. What changed was the context. The lies collapsed. The truth emerged. The deception got exposed. And suddenly, what was always true about you became undeniable to everyone else. Think about the journey. You started as the person nobody believed, the one making accusations nobody wanted to hear, the one seeing patterns nobody else could see, the one speaking truth nobody wanted to accept. Your name in conversations was evidence you were the problem, proof that you were creating drama, confirmation that negativity was your nature. Now your name in conversations is evidence that others are the problem, proof that deception is being identified, confirmation that truth is your nature. The reversal is complete. The tables have turned. The weapon they forged to destroy you is now the crown confirming your authority. That's the power of patience. That's the wisdom of silence. That's the victory of consistency. You didn't need to convince anyone. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't need to fight for recognition. You just needed to be yourself and let time do what time does. Reveal truth, expose lies, validate integrity. Every moment you held your ground when pressure existed to compromise, you were building toward this. Every time you chose truth when lies were easier, you were creating this foundation. Every time you walked away when staying would have been more comfortable, you were establishing this authority. The people who tried to bury you are now using your name to dig themselves out. The people who tried to silence you are now quoting you for authority. The people who tried to erase you are now invoking you to establish what's real. You turned the tables without lifting a finger. That's not luck. That's the universe confirming what you always knew. You are the chosen one, the standard, the authority, the one whose discernment couldn't be controlled, whose integrity couldn't be compromised, whose truth couldn't be silenced. Everything they did to destroy that only made it stronger, made you stronger, made your name heavier than all their lies combined. But don't get comfortable in the vindication. Don't make victory your identity. Don't let being proven right become your new obsession. That's a trap, a subtle one, but a trap nonetheless. The real victory isn't that they're using your name now. The real victory is that you don't need them to use it. You were complete before they acknowledged you. You were right before they admitted it. You were powerful before they recognized it. Their current use of your name doesn't add anything to who you are. It reveals what you've always been. And what you've always been is someone who sees truth clearly and refuses to compromise it for comfort. Your name in their mouth is your victory, but your peace in your heart is your power. Never confuse the two. Never trade the second for the first. They can use your name all day. As long as you keep building the life that makes your name worth using, that's the real win. That's the lasting dominance. That's the final word. You won by being exactly who you are, not by becoming what they wanted, not by proving what they demanded, not by performing what they expected, just by being authentic when everyone else was performing, just by being consistent when everyone else was compromising, just by being true when everyone else was lying. And that's the ultimate power move. That's the victory that can't be taken. That's the authority that can't be challenged. That's the crown that can't be removed. Because it wasn't given to you by people, it was confirmed in you by truth. And truth doesn't change based on opinion. Truth doesn't shift based on perception. Truth doesn't compromise based on pressure. You are truth. You spoke truth. You lived truth. You embodied truth. And now truth is speaking through your name in the mouths of people who tried to destroy you. That's not just justice. That's poetry. That's perfection. That's power.